So after you guys have mastered getting a single shape to draw and you've done some cool things with it, the next thing is how do we get multiple shapes staying together to be able to move them around the screen? Okay, so multiple shapes. Well, the first step is you need to decide where do you want the mouse to be. I picked the top left-hand corner of this rectangle, but it doesn't have to be. It could have been the center of this circle. It could have been one of these lines, but it's going to be one of your X and Y points, okay? So that's really the first thing is decide where you want it to be. I mean, obviously you have to have your shape done first. So this is going to be the practice that we're going to do before you do your alien. So you would have your alien done, you have all the code plotted, and you look at your numbers and you say, okay, which numbers do I want to make into where my cursor, where my mouse is going to be? And you make note of those. So on my shape that I've already coded out in my rectangle, that would be the coordinates for the X, 200, and the coordinates for the Y, 300. This will become my mouse X and my mouse Y, right? Just like we did when we moved just the rectangle around the screen. This corner will be my mouse X and mouse Y. So because we have to do just a decent amount of addition and subtraction, it's really important that you leave that number there, that you leave in your comments somewhere that mouse X is 200 and mouse Y is 300 because we're going to get rid of these numbers. All right, so I'm going to kind of pick up on this. All right, so here we are, just doing it in my sketch. The next step is I'm actually going to replace this. This becomes mouse X, and this becomes mouse Y. All right, so let's just test, and I should have just my rectangle. Yeah, just my rectangle's moving. Nothing else is moving. I am going to leave my width and my height. They are not going to change, but, well, let's just see what would happen if I did make this mouse X and I did make this mouse Y. Oops. Whoa. So then my width and my height starts to change as well, which is trippy and mildly cool, but not what I want. Okay, so the width and the height will stay as those fixed numbers that you had. All right, everything else we're going to do is quite simply just going to be a little bit of subtraction and or addition. For your alien, I do recommend copying and pasting the code right below and commenting out one level, just because if you make some changes and you've erased what your original coordinates are, it'll be a little bit harder to go back and troubleshoot. Or as an alternative, simply copy all this code into a new sketch, and then you always have the original one to go back to as a reference. Either way, you don't want to take your static alien and just start erasing the code and substituting in mouse X and mouse Y, because if there's a problem and you don't know what your original coordinates were, it'll take you longer to get back. All right, so this is the process that we're going to do. It's not hard, it just takes a little bit of time. Here's my circle. Here's my X. It's at 250. Currently, my mouse X is equal to 200. So if I want my mouse X to be equal to 250, I would have to write mouse X plus 50, right? Because mouse X is 200. But for my circle, I need it to be up higher, so I need it to be I need it to be over further, so I need to add to it. So this would give me 250. For my y-axis, I need for my circle for it to be at 250, but mouse y equals 300. So how do I get from 300 and make it 250? Mouse y minus 50. And my width and my height, I don't change. So let's see if that's working. Yes, they are staying together. So where my cursor is, that's mouse X and mouse Y. And my circle is mouse X and mouse Y. Well, for the x, it's plus 50. So you see how it's 50 over. And then minus 50. It's going up higher. So my corner, minus 50. Now let's do the lines. Again, I'm just going to duplicate them and put them right below so I have it right there. You don't have to do this. It's just a troubleshooting. So here's my first x. Mouse x equals 200. I need it to equal 250. So that would be mouse x plus 50. My y is 0. So currently mouse y is 300. I need it to equal 0. So that would be mouse y minus 300. Here's another x and y. This x is 250. My mouse x is 200. I need it to be 250. So this would be mouse x plus 50. Mouse y is 300. I need it to be 200. That would be mouse y minus 100. And let's test this one out. Okay, so that first line is now moving with everything else. Continuing on, I will copy this one, comment this line out. Okay, my mouse x is currently 200, but I need it to be 150. So it would be mouse x minus 50. Mouse y is currently 300, but I need it to be 0. So that would be mouse y minus 300. Oh, I'm just going to shift this number to 50. All right, so my x is currently at 200, but I need it to be 250. And my y is 300, but I need it to be 200. Okay, almost done here. Let's see if this is correct. Yes, so now two of them are moving. All right, the last line. And then the last thing we have to do is to make it wiggle. Okay, so mouse x is 200. I need it to be 350. So mouse x plus 150. Mouse y is 300. I need it to be 0. Mouse x is 200. I need it to be 50. Okay, I'm just going to copy and paste. Mouse y is 300. I need it to be 200. It's going to be the same thing as here, so I'm just going to cheat by copying and pasting. Okay, and let's see if that's working. Yes, now they are all moving together. The last step is let's give those lines a little bit of wiggle. So I need to find the coordinates that represent the outer, the top part of my line. That's where I want them to wiggle, not the part where it intersects onto the circle. So if I look over here, I'm going to guess that that is probably these over here. My first set of coordinates are representing the top of my line, and the second set of coordinates of x and y representing the part of my line that's on the circle. So we'll find out if that's right. I'm going to put the P in front of the mouse x and the mouse y for both of these. Oops, I put that in the wrong spot. Okay, now there's just a slight amount of wiggle when I move it from side to side on my lines, just up there at the top. I don't know how well you can see in the video, but shake it, do it with your own, just move it back and forth, and you'll see that there's just a little bit of wiggle going on there. Okay, so that's it for this. If you follow along on the PowerPoint, if you want to do some other examples of using different kinds of shapes, like a triangle or a quad, you can do another set there. And yeah, I do give you all the code, but if you didn't want to have the code, just use this illustration and then try to figure it out on your own. And if you're done with that, or if you don't want to do that one, then skip ahead to the practice. This is what I want you to do for the practice. I want you to first draw code out with numbers. These three shapes, it should look like this: a triangle over an oval over a square. You decide where you want your cursor to be, which coordinate will become mouse X and mouse Y, and then you do just as we did with the practice, adding and subtracting. Just remember, width and height do not change. So for yours, if this was a square or a rectangle, the width and height should stay fixed numbers. The same thing with your ellipse, but all three coordinates of the triangle will change in relationship to mouse X. When you're done with that, just show me what you came up with.